Joe, why do fish live in salt water? Pepper water would make them sneeze. Pepper water would make them sneeze.
Check. 1, 2.
All right. What's green and has wheels? Grass. I was lying about the wheels. I was lying about the wheels. Hey, this is Jacques.
Joe.
And welcome to Carnival Personnel. That is the precipice of comedy, my friends. Joe, you having a good week so far? How was your last week? How's your next week?
We can talk about something else.
Okay. I will talk about something else. The rousing success our Batman sideshow was last week. Lots of people thoroughly enjoyed it.
All three
of them. I myself, I had texted you after listening to the playback of it. I did not take a breath the first 2.5 minutes. Completely forgot to even intro the show or you. And as I texted you the other day, I truly wish I had that much passion about a career, my family, absolutely
wiping properly.
Any of those. If I had a 10th, a 15th, I don't know. I'd be in a different place in my life if I could apply that kind of passion towards something other than Batman.
You do. Superman.
No, Patriots, maybe.
Right, Patriots. Oh, God. No, you waiting here.
So I didn't have this on the rundown because it happened after the rundown. I'm driving a couple hours ago.
You?
And I get a very good call from my friend John Hunt in Austin, and very excited. The name comes up on the screen, and we talk all the time, but it's always a good phone call. And I answer the phone. I was like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And instantly, he launches into asking me if my oldest son is playing online with his oldest son in Austin, because they've become online buddies after they met this summer. They play Fortnite together. And he goes, "I'm driving home. I had to go to work today. I'm driving home. He's not answering the phone. I'm late to pick him up, and I got to tell him to get ready for basketball. He's not answering his call. So I was hoping that he was playing online so you could have your kid tell my kid, turn off the damn game and get ready for." And I'm like, "No, I mean, we're on the way to water polo. Sorry." And he's like, "Oh, and I'm like, "So you're calling me from Austin to Boston to say, hey, can my kid tell your kid to do this?" He goes, "That's the world we live in, Jacques. That's the world we live in." And I'm like, it really is, isn't it?
Things move so fast nowadays.
We're going to start off on a somber note. Joe, tomorrow I have to say goodbye to our pool.
It's so hard to say goodbye.
Seriously, the pain in the ass of closing the pool is, it's a pain in the ass. At least... it costs about $300. But yeah, I mean, it's just when we look out the back window, down towards the pool area for the next 7 months, big, ugly old tarp covered with leaves and sadness.
You need a Batman logo tarp.
Oh my God.
Just get something that's cool to
I
look at.
Literally, wow. You know how much money I'm going to spend next year having... Because we're going to have a different cover made next year. One of those covers that you can walk on. It's almost like a trampoline, type.
Right, very tight, yeah.
Right. Wow. You literally, you've
You got to think outside the tarp. It wasn't that funny. You are drunk on something. Sir.
No, but I went from sadness to a ray of hope. And the irony that you would provide the ray of hope and sunshine versus the usual rickety chair.
and rope.
So that is it. And, and while in a mode of verklempt-ness, I don't know if that's a word. I'm getting verklempt. I saw on Twitter, and I saw that you liked it. It's the local Channel 4 had released some old news footage, and it's just a helicopter shot panning around the old Boston Garden. The new Boston Garden was built, but the old artery was there and all that stuff. You know, it was just before the old garden was taken down and had that famous billboard of "Thanks for the Memories" with the pole blocking
the seat,
you know.
the obstructed view seat. I actually took pictures on the old North Station platform of the old Boston Garden, 1995, I want to say, because it was my first year of college, and you know, not my first of 2 years of college, but you know, it was still my first year of college, and I was doing photography for class and something, and yeah, I took photos of that. I have photos of that exact "Thanks for the Memories" billboard. I don't think I took photos of. Remember when they ripped the facade down?
Yes.
And
like
you could see
one side, the guts.
You could see inside the garden,
like an autopsy of my feelings in childhood. is basically what it was.
Yep.
Our good friend John, lawyer buddy John, defensive partner extraordinaire, he has a brick from the garden. I believe I bought him a brick from the garden, and it's like numbered. It's like it's certified, but I could dump in a box. What's the line from Tommy Boy?
What?
I could crap in a box and put.
Oh yeah, I could take a shit in a box and mark it guaranteed for you because it's a guaranteed piece of shit.
So, but I believe I bought him a brick from the Boston Garden. I didn't get the monkey bones.
Oh, I was going to mention the monkey. I was going to say I know somebody who has a monkey from the garden.
So now on to happier news. My management just broke the news to you about what went down yesterday. So I'll let you tell the good folks driving around listening to our podcast about what happened to my family yesterday.
So on Friday,
thank you.
Yeah, we have to speak in days now. On Friday, your management was telling me that she was in the area of your son's school, and was going to pick him up early, but he asked why. Why was it being picked up? Was something wrong? Is this and that? And he said, no, nothing's wrong. It's just that Marvel made a deal with Sony, or Disney made a deal with Sony, and there will be a third Spider-Man movie. He's back in the MCU.
We were so excited because she usually doesn't get to pick him up, and he gets picked up at like 3:30, and she was in the neighborhood at like 12:30, 1 o'clock. I'm like, why don't you go tell him, bring him home and watch, Far From Home again, just celebrate the moment. Yeah, that's my jumping ahead to the parenting tip of the week, but that's literally, we were so excited to see that. We're like, because he's been bummed. I mean, he's 9, and he's grown up. Everybody who's known him, he grew up the first 6 years of his life not wearing like 60% of the time a Batman outfit, 30% of the time a Robin outfit, and then Jedi, whatever. But that was it. But the last year of his life has all been about
Spider-Man.
This Spider-Man, the MCU Spider-Man, Tom Holland.
So much so that he walked in this afternoon with a homemade web slinger attached to his hand.
Yeah, he got up the other morning before school, and he was like the cardboard box and all this stuff. I'm like, dude, we gotta go. It's like, I'm almost done. I gotta bring this to school, And he's like, every day, it's like, I gotta check the backpack. Yeah, he's not supposed to bring the costume to school like this year and stuff like that. But yeah, we were just so excited. We're like, yeah, and it's just great. I mean, it's like I really thought they were going to kind of figure out. You had to, right?
It's a lot of money to leave on the table.
Both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Like even if Sony rebooted it, reboot Spider-Man, which they have to at one point or another, but this one is so wildly successful, and the tangled webs of these characters that were developed through the MCU, you can't bring over there. So it's like it would have just been a mess. And
yeah, I thought Sony would be a lot more pig-headed about it or stubborn. And Japanese is really basically way too prideful to come to a compromise with Disney. And turns out, yeah, money talks.
And I'm very, very happy. Very, very happy there are. Last week we talked a little bit about the climate marches. I guess there were more the end of last week, like worldwide. The girl Greta, she went from the UN up to Canada. And across Canada, and across the globe, but specifically in Canada.
Chew me about it, stud.
I was sorry. I'm so
It's so
I
delicious.
suck.
No,
I'm
I suck more because I'm calling it out on the air.
but like most of the cities that I saw across Canada, be it Vancouver or Montreal, they were waiving public transportation in order to go to this. They were willing to shut down different highways and freeways and stuff and make it possible to have these gigantic. I mean, just it's one thing that, you know, here to see the roadblocks being put up, pushing back against doing something about the climate, where all these other countries are like, yeah, the kids are speaking up, or just it's driven by kids in a lot of cases, but you know, schools allowing kids to get out and different businesses making accommodations to make this happen, for the government to say, yeah, workers want to be part of this. Great, go in March, and it's not a vacation day. It's not, you know, I mean, just go, and public transportation free and all that kind of stuff. It's depressing as it can be to see the pushback here, like the EPA truly being run by a guy who owns the biggest like coal mine in the country. It's daunting.
We're the ironic states of America now.
Yeah,
Like, there's nothing united about it. Everything's backward. It's funny that like all of these protests are taking place in, you know, developed countries, yet at the same time, the biggest polluters on the planet are not going to be listening to the people that are protesting. You know, we have China, we have the United States.
China actually is. I mean, and not for all the right reasons, but doesn't matter if they're willing to make, you know, for progress, because I mean they have middle coastal cities too that are facing these climate, you know, issues now. It's not a future thing. And they have become the world leading manufacturer of solar panels. It was one of those things. There was lots of writing on it. I mean, the whole Paris Accord and stuff like that. You can look at it one of two ways. Oh, we could possibly lose these 25,000 coal mining jobs. And to the coal mining families, that's everything, you know, and I get that. And I've never said, and I don't think anybody pushing these Green New Deals are saying, well, that's their career choices. Fuck them. You know, it's time to move on. They all have programs to, like, you know, retrain these people and put them in the solar world and the world of, like, you know, wind farms and stuff like that. But there was lots of contracts. There was lots of things in the works, manufacturing jobs that are going to last for a long time, installation jobs with the windmills and stuff like that. For right now, most of the techs working on the windmills of these wind farms around the country are being flown over. You know, we're not moving forward with this. And China, when we pulled out of the Paris deal, you know, we're like, oh, we're happy to step in and fill that void. We are happy to make 1 billion solar panels over the next 20 years. We're willing to have that work done in our factories by our people. But it is great to see these. And it's not just a developed thing. The girl Greta, you know, who I started to follow on Twitter, you know, posting pictures that she's getting from people around the world in places like Sri Lanka. Not really the bastion of developed nations, you know, not going to be part of the G7, the G8, the G40 anytime soon, but yet even places like that. But again, there's lots of places that are island nations, that are coastal countries that are saying, hey, you know, the beach used to go about 100 yards down further, or meters or what. I'm not going to try to think. So.
And don't forget, there is also another champion of climate protection, or whatever you want to call it, on these coastal nations, Jason Momoa.
Yes.
In case the target audience isn't being reached by a 16-year-old autistic girl, you know, to fill in the gaps, we got to throw in Aquaman.
Which I may or may not be talking a lot more about Jason Momoa in the next couple weeks on this podcast, so stay tuned for that.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, other news about progress and really fighting the big problems of the day. The governor of Massachusetts has put a 4-month or 6-month ban on vaping. And sale. Oh, did you hear about this?
I did not know that.
All vape.
Did you hear that? Did you hear the news?
You cannot sell vaping products in Massachusetts, which
you can only rent it.
All these stores on the border in New Hampshire have said, well, "Thank you."
Right.
Yeah, I think they're up to like 13 deaths, like nationwide. And it's a complete across the board, like vaping for tobacco and all kinds of like CBD or whatever that wacky tobacco the kids are out there smoking.
I don't think there is tobacco in there.
Yeah, vaping. Yeah,
vaping's tobacco?
Vaping's a big tobacco thing too, and that's one of the things. It's like it now comes in all these flavors, so it's like that's their way of like getting at the kids again.
Yeah, right.
It's like, well, we can't go with Joe Camel, or was it Joe? Who was their logo? It was Joe Camel.
Joe Penis Head.
So it's like, again, it's one of those things. It's like, all right, you got how many millions of people vaping in the country, 13 deaths. I'm sorry for those people and the families, but how many people from drunk driving today, or guns, or anything else? It's like, okay, well, I'm glad something's being done about something, but I don't know if this is the biggest health issue facing America today.
Well, they just don't have a big enough lobby. And so really,
Right.
it's a call to arms for the vaping industry. Get your fucking shit together. You're being wiped out before you even have a chance to corrupt the government.
Well said. Speaking about corrupt government, this is a corrupt government, but longtime ambassador Joe Wilson, has passed away this past week, and I don't know if the name rings a bell with you.
Mr. Wilson.
He was one of these really big, I think at the time he might have been an ambassador to Italy. I should have done my homework. But he was one of these, I think a congressperson, or, who was really, in the intelligence community, who was screaming from the rooftops, there's no weapons of mass destruction. Hey, I really don't think there's weapons of mass destruction, and the UN is still over there looking for them, but we're not finding them, so let's hold off on invading the country. I don't think there's any weapons of mass destruction. And Dick Cheney didn't like that too much. He didn't like that at all. So he decided, Joe Wilson's wife is in the CIA. She's a spy. She's undercover. Why don't we go public with who she is, what her real name is, and where she lives, and maybe that will shut Joe Wilson up. And that was the big Valerie Plame scandal in the early 90s. And again, just to reiterate, this is the most corrupt administration of all time, and everybody associated with it is a complete corrupt piece of shit. George W. and Dick Cheney were not far behind.
Close second.
I mean, honestly, Dick Cheney. Oh God, I literally, I'm surprised. I mean, him and Steve Miller, or is it Steve Miller?
Stephen Miller, yeah.
Stephen Miller, 1 and 1A as far as the worst fucking people in this country in the past ever.
Wow,
maybe. But it was Dick Cheney who was like, oh, okay, well, maybe if Joe Wilson doesn't shut up, we're going, and they kind of threatened him, and then they did. They outed an agent in the field, for political gains. And that's the party that's patriotism. That's the party that law and order. That's the party of
the Patriot Act. They're so patriotic.
So, but he passed away, natural causes, and he knew it. Like, I've heard him on a bunch of shows and stuff like that.
Or did he?
Yeah, exactly. So that didn't make the list of This Week in Awful, but we're going to dive right in. 1,000%, for forever, ever since, fine people on both sides made it really fucking clear, yes, I'm a proud racist. But now, the whole thing with Ukraine, with mob boss Donnie Two Scoops, and like I was saying before, yeah, you got a nice country here. It'd be a shame if something happened to it.
Yep. So, what's happening now?
Which
is a bad follow-up to the seminal sitcom What's Happening.
That's the worst. Yeah. Of all the spin-offs.
What's Happening now was not a good... Yeah.
I mean, we run
They tried.
would have been great,
Yeah, right.
But nope. But with what's happening, Joe, is our president openly shook down a nation that gave up its nuclear arms at our request, in exchange for protection, which we looked the other way when Crimea was annexed by Putin, who Congress had said, yeah, we have to help these people out. Here's all the money for all the weapons they need, which they take the money we give them and they buy weapons from American manufacturers. So we're taking all the money we need out of the left pocket and making sure it goes into the right pocket. But yeah, it turns out, the mob boss told the president flat out, we're willing to help you, but you got to do something for us first. And that thing is to investigate Joe Biden, all this stuff. Everybody knows about that, but it's got all the way. There was a whistleblower, and then there was a cover up of the whistleblower, and the excuse that they used was, well, we would have come forward with this, except it didn't. We never had a whistleblower blow the whistle on the president, so we wanted to make sure it was okay with the president that we move forward with it, even though we're not supposed to do any of that. So.
Yeah, you're supposed to always double check with the criminal before charging them with a crime.
And then, other people associated with this are like, oh, yeah, the secret server that they put this on, you're not the same server that they want to lock Hillary up for.
No, that was, Hillary used Gmail.
Oh.
And they used Hotmail.
See, okay, that thin line between clever and stupid, really. And so, yeah, I guess they do that randomly with phone calls from his bosses in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the motherland, Russia. So we'll just move on. But I will say that finally they have enough people in the Congress who have said, yep, let's go ahead. They needed 218 Congress people to move forward in the House. And they're up to, as of the dropping of this podcast, like 225, 226. There's still a few Democrat holdouts in purple states or in red states that they happen to win a blue seat in and stuff like that. But they have the numbers. But the other big thing is now that all this came out, and it was Barr again, who went out of his way to derail the Mueller investigation, cancel the Mueller investigation, gave his inaccurate summary of the Mueller investigation. He's the one who tried to squash this. And point blank, I've seen on so many different, news shows and saw on different people's Twitter feeds, Kamala Harris had asked him, in a hearing during the whole Mueller, the run-up to getting all the material from the Mueller, asked him point blank, has the president ever asked for investigations to be opened on his enemies list, on his political adversaries? Has he asked you or anybody in the intelligence community or anybody else that you know of, has he asked to open investigations? And Barr's like, I can't really remember. She's like, you can't remember if the president said to the head of the intelligence, said to the attorney general, I want to open investigations, or you haven't heard when. That's something you want to, and he wouldn't answer the question. Well, he wouldn't answer the question because he was in the room with the talk with the Ukraine people, or in the loop that he asked the Ukraine people to open this investigation. How they're not all impeached? Like literally, I mean, not, and they shouldn't be impeached. You perjure yourself in a Senate hearing. You openly perjure yourself. It is against the law.
Yeah, but when was the last time somebody who perjured themselves in front of a grand jury was impeached? I mean,
oh, that's right. Well, the crime of having,
getting a blowy,
getting a blowjob,
and then lying about it. Oh my God!
Oh, can you believe that?
I mean, sorry, Hitler, you were number one on the list.
It's, and somebody asked, Barr, he's like, don't you think this is the same thing as what Clinton did? And he said, well, it's close, but no cigar.
Hey-o!
Oh, we're laughing as Rome is burning. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The only other things that we had here is, the NRA openly, like Trump called the NRA this past week saying, hey, I need help here, but that's not my favorite part of the news. My favorite part of the news is we've joked forever that when the Sinclair network sends out their talking points to all their stations, you can flip from station to station across the country. It's the same thing. Or any, like what Rush Limbaugh says is the same thing that Hannity says, which is they get talking points. And we've always joked back from, George W. I remember joking about it. It's like, it's the same thing that a senator will say, that a congressperson, they get these talking points. Well, it turns out they do get talking points
from the White House
directly. But it turns out not just Republicans get the talking points, Joe.
Oh, right. It's the Democrat.
Did you follow that?
Well, on Fox News?
No.
What?
This week.
But the guy, what?
The White House accidentally
They tweeted out.
Did a reply all.
What?
And it went to CNN. It went to MSNBC. Rachel Maddow got in her inbox. Like, literally, they accidentally sent the talking points to
all the news.
And it went to senators and congresspeople. It was like a reply all type thing.
Right.
And about an hour later, they got a second email asking you to ignore it. And it's funny. There's a show that I saw all these clips, and I want to be.
Was it Veep? Oh no, this is a real life thing.
I don't know, Joe. Maybe I do have HBO and I'm unaware of it. So seriously, the best part about it, there's a shitty show. They're all shitty shows, but I've seen it before, like clips on different people's timelines. There's a show called The Five on
Fox,
where they have one liberal person and four people yelling at him, and It's been on forever. And it's like
it used to be called The Lynch.
Oh, was that what it was? Okay,
the Lynch mob,
and then they had a
kind of
soften it up, a little bit,
right? Well, they were losing.
Whitewash it, huh? Why?
Hey, you are on fuego.
So, and look, I want to be famous and on TV too, but not enough to have four conservatives scream at me. But one of the guys this week went on there and he said that. He's like, yeah, you're just regurgitating these talking points, and they lost their shit. They started, well, that's original.
Where'd you get that from? CNN?
Like, they literally lost their shit because he's holding up the talking points that they had stored at the show, going down the list, making sure you say it's a nothing burger. Like that was one of the things that they said. Say this, use this term, like actually bullet points. This is what you're supposed to say. All us foot soldiers out there, this is what you want you to regurgitate. But that's so great that they sent it. And was it an accident, or did somebody in the White House like, yeah, fuck this,
I have to go with the former. It was an accident because nobody is that brazen, stupid, and has a total disregard for their job, the well-being of the White House itself, to purposely do that.
I want to agree with you, but then you're going to have to explain how Rudy Giuliani still has a job.
Well, I think it's because he sacrifices all those babies. I'm not quite sure where he gets his power from. All right. Well, what else is it? What else do you want to do? You want to do a self-indulgent theater?
I always have that on the list, and the answer is yes. I always. Do you got one in mind?
Well, I know during our Batman sideshow, you were impressed by my my Bane and my Michael Caine, my Bane Caine, my Caine Bane.
I very much was.
If you hold on a second, I can get a plastic cup to speak into, so I can talk like Bane even better.
I got nowhere to go.
All right, hold on a second.
Literally, figuratively.
So I have my Bane mask now. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Does that sound too muffled?
No, it does not.
Are you sure?
I got to flex the whole time we do our good, get the whole Bane effect. Why are you wearing a shirt?
Okay, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to do Bane? Do you want me to do Michael Caine? Do you want me to do a scene from a movie? You want to,
If you could pull up, if you could find the dialogue, because
which scene?
The scene where he fights Batman is the quintessential scene.
Okay.
In The Dark Knight Rises, and in that scene, what I love and hate about it is it holds very true to the comic book where Bane breaks Batman's back. Of course, that actually happened in the Batcave. But we all know that. I'm just telling everybody, stuff we know. But if you could find that when he has the whole soliloquy on Oh, you merely adopted the darkness.
Okay. I think I found.
Molded in it.
Let me try this. All right. This is Bane soliloquizing to Batman about how he don't know shit about darkness.
Oh, you think the darkness is your ally. You merely adopted the dark. I was born into it, molded by it. I didn't see the light until I was already a man. By then, it was nothing to me, but blinding. The shadows betray you, because they belong to me. I will show you where I have made my home, while preparing to bring justice. Then I will break you. Your precious armory, gratefully accepted. We will need it. Ah, yes. I was wondering what would break first. Your spirit or your body.
The end.
No, I'm just. You got the whole line? It's like, you fight like a.
Oh no,
man.
I just agree. It was a Wikipedia.
Oh, okay, yeah, because when he has the whole thing, it's like you fight. But that line is good. I was wondering what would break first. Oh,
the other thing that struck me was the Michael Caine when he was breaking up with Batman.
Oh,
yeah,
dude, just kills you.
Yeah,
and it's like he's in tears. He's like, my options are help you die or walk away, and hopefully by me walking away, you're like, hey, I shouldn't do this because I'm going to die.
All right. I'm trying to find... I'll see if I can... I don't think somebody...
Oh, it's got it, without a doubt.
Let me see.
Some loser like me has posted it.
Bane, Gordon, Harvey, Alfred. Oh, right. Here we go. All right, this is the scene with Alfred Pennyworth and Bruce Wayne, where in the middle of Dark Knight Rises, when Bruce Wayne decides that he wants to become Batman again, and Alfred will have none of it. He'll do one thing for him, and then he's out. This is Alfred Pennyworth and Bruce Wayne. I've sewn you up. I've set your bones, but I won't bury you. I've buried enough members of the Wayne family. You will leave me? You see only one end to your journey. Leaving is all I have to make you understand. You're not Batman anymore. You have to find another way. You used to talk about finishing, a life beyond that awful cave. Rachel died knowing that we had decided to be together. That was my life beyond the cave. I can't just move on. She didn't. She couldn't. What if she had? I can't change that. What if, before she died, she wrote a letter to you saying she chose Harvey Dent over you? And what if, to spare you pain, I burnt that letter? How dare you use Rachel to try to stop me? I am using the truth, Master Wayne. Maybe it's time we all stop trying to outsmart the truth and let it have its day. I'm sorry. You're sorry? You just expect to destroy my world and then think we're gonna shake hands? I know what this means. What does it mean? It means your hatred. And it also means losing someone that I have cared for since I heard his cries echo through this house. But it might also mean saving your life. And that is more important. Goodbye, Alfred. Whatever.
That's we gotta do some more of those.
We need something
voices.
funnier.
No, but that is
that kind of stunk.
No, it's a little because it's one of those things. It's like also when you do the Wonderful Life stuff. Yeah, there's just some things that will always make me tear up, and that's
maybe they can sing "I Got You, Babe" or something.
Who would do what part?
Right.
Who's Sonny?
You say our love can't pay the rent.
You've got me, and baby, I've got you.
Babe.
Now I'm laughing and crying. Well, I'm gonna go deal with my bipolar disorder, and you listen to a defunct sponsor.
The adventure continues. Now with Batman, the serial. And nothing can slow him down. Nothing can stop him from bringing it to you. It's here. a smashing taste. A honey nut flavored part of your complete breakfast. Batman cereal.
Okay, back at it. Joe, the New England football landscape has been changed forever. It's a lot of broken hearts, a lot of dreams shattered. I don't think Humpty Dumpty's pieces can be put back together, Joe.
What do you mean?
The Massachusetts Pirates are maybe no more. Their league was folding, and who could have seen that coming other than Ray Charles from about 10 miles away? So they had to merge with another league, and all the teams in the National Arena League, except two, made the cut. Massachusetts Pirates weren't one of them. And their piece of shit owner, no names mentioned, Jawat, your team, tried to put out a press release saying, oh, we're going to play next year. We just haven't renewed with the DCU Center, who doesn't want them back. And the D-list Arena League they're in said, yeah, we don't want you back. So maybe he's going to be playing with himself?
What? So they're part of the National,
NAL, National Arena League.
All right. Hopefully they don't merge with the MBA.
Which is,
I don't know, but
morons.
But if you put NAMBLA together,
you're pretty funny. I should hang out with you more often. But yeah, they didn't make the cut. And I had inside word that was coming down, but I kind of was asked to not say anything. And a lot of pirate people who I talk to periodically, were texting me the news the other day, and they were like, oh my God, you said a year ago they might get through next season, but there's no way there will be a third season. It's like, how do you know that? It's like, well, let's see. I added 2 + 2 = I'm not a fucking moron. Like, how did anyone think this was going to go? But it couldn't have happened to bigger people or worse people, bigger pieces of shit. So there you go. Not pieces of shit. Nate Ebner, one of my favorite. I mean, I like the oddball guys on. Well, I shouldn't say oddball, but the people who don't get touted for the success of the Patriots as much as they should. Like, and Nate Ebner is one of these special team guys who's, that's all he does. And like Matthew Slater, the Patriots carry 4 or 5 guys who aren't kickers, who do nothing but special team stuff, and everyone's like, a lot of people around the league think they're wasted bodies. You got a 53-man roster. You can only dress 45 on a game day, so why do you carry so many people who just cover punts, cover kickoffs, all that kind of stuff? And Belichick forever has said, it's like, offense is not more important than defense, that is not more important than special teams. You hear that all the time in New England. All 3 phases of the game. Well, Nate Ebner, as we've talked before, missed training camp a couple of years ago because he actually was on the U.S. Olympic rugby team. He's not playing on the rugby team this time around, but they have a qualifying match in Japan. And he and TB12 gave the team a personal kind of pregame pep talk shout out that somebody had posted on Twitter and stuff like that.
Cool.
And yeah, I mean it was one of those nice things where it's like you don't hear U.S. rugby getting much love and attention, let alone from the biggest, name in sports here today.
I think TB12 is trying to branch out a little bit.
Whatever the reason he's doing it, what I mean?
Probably money.
Probably, it's like, yes, it's, Joe, that cynicism I won't let stand. It's not about the money.
It's about a shitload of money.
It's about a shitload of money. So, so that was nice. The other thing, and I don't know if you saw, I tweeted this out the other day, there was something that went around. I guess a lot of people, the Chicago Bears coach was overheard on a sideline mic telling their second-year quarterback to shut the fuck up the other day. And a lot of people were like, not appreciating it, like as if it was some overbearing Little League coach yelling at a 6-year-old. So it's like, yeah, you know what? They traded up in the draft and gave away a shitload to get this guy, and he's not really panning out, and he makes a lot of stupid second-year guy mistakes. Of course, he was taken over like the people in Kansas City, like, Patrick Mahomes, last year's MVP, this year on pace to win the MVP again. The guy's fucking amazing. Yeah, he was taking 12 spaces after this guy. He was like 3 quarterbacks after he was taking. Anyways, and so the whole debate was like, oh, is that a place in sports? What if your boss talked to you like that? If you're paying me as much as Trubisky's getting paid to be a shitty quarterback, you can talk to my mother like that while giving me a prostate exam with a telephone pole.
It's just a dumb talking point on sports radio. Like, who cares?
Well, I care
Is this
because
part of cancel culture, you think?
no. What went around was a lot of other athletes, from pros and different levels of athleticism from different sports telling their favorite. Oh, dude.
Yeah. You think that's bad?
Really? And I got to tell my story, which got a lot of likes, and everybody on F&H, it's one of their favorite, stories that I've told. It's the first time I got called up from junior B to junior A. It was like the day before an 11-hour bus ride. I ride the bus for 11 hours, and the coach going over everything pregame. Towards the end, we got to get out on the ice for warm-up. Turns to me in front of the whole room and says, if you accidentally wind up with the puck on your stick, get your head out of your ass and find somebody better than you and get them the puck immediately. And then he points around the room. Everybody here is better than you. I will say, in the second period, when the goalie got a penalty, and back then, now you have to have been on the ice, but, you could call a guy off the bench. I got to skate across the ice, sit in the penalty box for 2 minutes, and the coach said, I don't fucking care if they have a breakaway. You get back here as soon as the 2 minutes are over. So 22 hours round trip to be scolded and insulted in front of a whole room, only to serve a 2-minute. That's the only time the game started that my blades ever touched the ice. And I was like,
you were nicknamed Sharp Blade Jacques.
I don't think he remembered my name, but seriously, it's like, yeah, that's part of it. Like literally, it's the 80s and stuff like that. It's like, I was like 16. I wasn't like, you weren't getting coddled. You knew what it was all about. And if you don't want, and I wasn't getting like the $80 billion that Mitch Trubisky is getting paid to have his coach tell him, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
So I just thought I'd share that. Got a lot of likes on Twitter. And by likes, I mean people enjoy my pain and sorrow.
That's Twitter.
It pretty much. Now to the good stuff. What video games do you have going on this week? What in the video game world is happening?
For me? Well, I'm playing one game I beat, I guess you would call it. And I think I didn't mention it last week, but there's a game out for the Switch and on PC apparently called Untitled Goose Game. And it's basically it's a stupid, silly, pleasant game where you play a goose. And the whole purpose is to scratch off your to-do list of fucking with people. Like it says, there's a garden. And it takes place in like Australia, but like, kind of like town Australia. Picture like a British town. And you start off in a little pond as a goose, and you go to a garden, and you have to turn on the sprinkler to get the gardener wet. And then the gardener has to like then come out and open the gate, and then you go in the garden, and then you start taking food out, and you have to like make a picnic for yourself at some point. It's like these little stupid things. Like you have to figure out a way to take the gardener's keys and his hat and make him wear another hat, and it's a whole like litany of things. And it's like a first wave of things, and then like as you progress, you get like a second wave of and more to do to fuck with people. There's one where you take a nerdy kid's glasses, you untie his shoelaces and make him chase after you, and then he falls. Yeah, it's a whole thing, and it's just funny and it's pleasant. And the whole soundtrack is minimalist piano. It's almost like a picture like Mr. Rogers, the piano playing like in the land of make believe kind of thing, where as you become more confrontational, or if people are trying to shoo you away as the goose. The piano gets more frustrating and, it gets more fervent. And but then it becomes more pleasant as you're walking by alone. It's a nice thing. There's a place where you have to, like, you enter an outdoor pub, and there's an old man who's about to sit down to play the harmonica on a stool, and the whole purpose is to make him fall on his ass. And it's just like you have to pull the stool away from him just as he's about to. And it's really hard. Like if you don't know the timing, if you don't get it right, it's you won't accomplish your mission.
100% it.
Exactly. Yeah, the only thing I haven't done yet is the time trials, because there's like a church bell that rings after a certain amount of time in each section. There's 5 sections, and if you complete all the tasks on your to-do list within the time frame, then you scratch that off your ultimate to-do list. And it's just like a really fun, pleasant game. The aesthetics are nice. It's really like a cute. It was $15 too. It wasn't like a $60 game, and it's like one of those downloadable DLC games on the Switch. And
Capcom.
And actually, it was like it was something that like my wife was watching me play. My older son Connor was watching me play, and like we were like laughing at me trying to like do all of the things and screwing with people. So it was like a little family get together.
And what is it called?
Untitled Goose Game.
Not Silly Goose, because it sounds sounds like a silly goose.
You are a silly goose in this game, but no, that's a little too on the nose or on the beak.
Oh,
or a bill.
If you,
what the hell is it?
What
do geese have?
I don't know.
I don't know where I am. So I'm playing that, and what else? You're playing Batman. All right.
No, I'm playing. So we kind of went ahead and 2 things this week. Last week I talked a bit about the PS4 being on the last leg and having to delete everything and factory reinstall things and re-download everything. And I wrestled with it for a couple days. And I feel bad because the oldest one, we started like back to you can only play on the weekends. That's it. And he lost most of last weekend because it kept crashing and it would take 2 hours to reboot everything. And then he was really upset that by the time it was working right on Sunday afternoon, 2 hours in, it's like, dude, you got fucked over. The world is conspiring against you. And I did feel bad, but at the end of the day, you still got to get up early tomorrow morning to drop off your brother at school and then go to your therapy. It's like, I'm sorry, but you got to go to bed. This is it. And you should have been. Anyways, so, I without him knowing, I tried to reboot it Monday to see if I can fix it. Completely fixed. It's all set.
Oh wow!
I bought a new one, and I bought. It's like I had to buy a used one to make sure it was the exact same kind.
Oh right.
And I went.
Did you put in like the scuff mark? Is this like replacing a goldfish?
Yeah, exactly.
You'll never know the difference.
Get nail polish and put a stripe on it to one side and stuff. Yeah, no, I did, and it's like all the little things, like make sure I didn't have the new cables from the box of the controller, just throw them in the bin of like old parts and pieces from old other, things.
The graveyard.
Stuff like that. Yeah. And it's like just use the same wire, same HDMI cable, the little Hello Kitty, flash drive that's in the port and stuff like that. But it's like I signed it on and then I'm like, oh crap, I didn't log out of the other one. So I had to reboot it to log out of it, then log in and download it all. And that's the shit you do when I did. I felt bad for him because we're back to absolute zero games, even for me, like during the week, because honestly, with these like soul sucking, like, monsters, there truly now is zero time, from getting up.
Zero time for fucking around.
Right. Get up, claw your way through the day. And then by the time you get home, it's like, okay, they're showered, they're in bed. I can go downstairs.
And then you time travel.
And then, right, exactly. So I haven't played anything, but there you have it. But you are now going to do a random video
game review.
There you go.
Great.
Thank you.
I almost had to reboot you. I was like, what? I don't know where the hard drive is on this thing.
Yeah, you do.
Oh boy, shh. We don't want to let everybody know our secrets. Jacques pulling a game off my Nintendo shelf. Big fucking deal. It's a J game. You got it there right underneath the J's. It is not Jaws. It is not Jurassic Park. It's not John Elway quarterback, I don't think. I'm going to say, is it Joust? No, I don't do it.
Almost grabbed Joust.
Okay, almost
grabbed Joust, but I'm like, I think we've done Joust.
Is it Journey to Silius?
It's not. No.
I don't know what I have.
Well, I'll give you a hint.
Okay, please. On microphone. Is it Jordan vs. Bird? Because I can see the label.
It is. Oh, you suck. I was going to reference the fact that we talked about the garden.
The Garden. Jordan versus Bird, 1-on-1. You know what's funny about this game? I remember making a copy because they put this game out on PC back in the 80s as well. So I remember making a copy of this from my friend Mike, who was also like a PC gamer of the time. And but back then in like the mid 80s, PC gaming was, you know what PC gaming was. It was like Oregon Trail, maybe, like if you were lucky. But they had this on PC. This was made by, I think, this is distributed by Milton Bradley. But I thought this was an Electronic Arts game, but I must have been wrong. But this is like it's a half-court basketball game where you're either Michael Jordan or Larry Bird. And you're playing against the other person. You're playing with a friend, with two-player, or you're playing against the computer. And it wasn't exactly like the greatest graphics in the world. I think Double Dribble had better graphics than Jordan versus Bird, and they came out 2 years prior. But it had licensed names on it. It had the pictures and everything. I was like, look, that's Michael Jordan. That's Larry Bird. I know those gentlemen from basketball. And I can play as them or against them?
Huge.
Here's my money.
Take it all.
You're right. And it wasn't the gameplay was kind of shit. But yeah, you're playing half-court basketball. It wasn't exactly I think this came up before the horse McDonald's commercial.
Oh,
remember
really?
that?
Yeah.
Nothing but net.
That was a great great series of commercials.
That was a great campaign. You're right. Over the Eiffel Tower. Nothing but net.
Yeah, that's when they were on the Dream Team.
Yeah, 92, right. Yeah, I think this came out 88, I believe. So, Jordan vs. Bird, 1-on-1 for your Nintendo Entertainment System, you loser.
You're all kinds of feisty.
Yes, I am. I'm real catty today.
Meow.
Meow. Speaking of Catwomen. Were we speaking about Catwomen? I don't know. Maybe I was just dreaming of them. Jordan vs. Bird 1-on-1, according to Pat Contry's Ultimate Nintendo Guide to the NES Library book, is 2.5 stars, which is, I agree. As the title suggests, this one is... Oh, I'm sorry. Let me start over. As the title suggests, this is 1-on-1 basketball with two of the game's greatest squaring off against each other. Play is basic, but recreates 1-on-1 court action as best it could. You can cover, maneuver, shoot threes, and even commit fouls as the rules are accurate, although the computer AI is very weak. Reflections. I'm not going to read these reflections. But yeah, there's you can see the graphics.
But he pretty much gave the same ranking that you gave.
It's middle of the road, kind of subpar. You expected more, you paid for more, and you got less.
We paid for blood.
So that's it. End of the podcast. Oh no!
What are you watching?
Ooh, my God.
But besides your 40 slip away.
I just started, man. You're right. That's what I'm doing. I'm watching my 40 slip away. I did rewatch The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. I was inspired.
You back to back them.
One night and one night. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I pulled out the old Blu-rays. You know what? I was going to watch it on Apple TV, but we share the same account because you're so generous. You had started you had stopped it halfway, and I'm like, I know this is his 3,000th viewing, but I'm not going to fuck it up and just restart from the beginning.
And for the future, you can restart any of that, and because for me,
you probably fell asleep to it.
I leave it on the background all the time. Right. The same 50 movies are just on almost on a loop. It's like, oh, what am I going to watch? Oh, look at all this new stuff that came out.
Batman.
Oh, Superman, 1979, Christopher Reeve.
No, Batman.
But yeah, the last few weeks it's been all Batman all the time.
As it should be. It's the 80th anniversary. And Kevin Conroy looks great.
He looks great.
And by the way, don't you want to make a little side note about Kevin Conroy? And
Yes. You mean the voice of the Arkham game series? And I really think that brings him up to probably number 2.
Yeah.
Behind Christian Bale.
That's why when we were talking, I'm like...
You were like, what?
Well, yeah, Kevin Conroy is Batman.
Are you as stupid as I've been telling people?
And then you said, stupid is as stupid does, sir.
And then you said, I hope you do. It's like, Jenny, I'm sorry. Anyways, that escalated really quickly. So go on. So you're watching?
I am watching.
Or you watched?
And every night they air 2 episodes on PBS, and I kind of got into it. I didn't watch all the episodes. Ken Burns' new documentary series, Country Music.
Did it talk about when Paul Lynde threatened to punch out Tanya Tucker?
I don't recall that.
Oh, Gilbert had posted an article about that this week.
That's right.
And he's like, it must have been after lunch.
But I didn't like become a country music fan, but I felt more interested in that genre, or at least seeing it being covered, because they covered it up to like the mid 90s. I think basically like Garth Brooks was like the last. Oh no, Johnny Cash's death was kind of where they ended the series. But they covered, they even like spent 5 minutes on Hee Haw. Like that's how in depth they went. How can you not mention Hee Haw in a documentary about country music?
It's so funny how huge Hee Haw was.
It ran for decades.
And it's like, I mean, a good segment of the country. It was much see viewing, like appointment viewing. It was pre VCR, and it was live and stuff like that, so people had to see it. If you saw that, you got to go back and watch our friend Rich's Tales from the Tour Bus, because it takes a darker look, but I mean, just some of the most awesome characters, and like I said, Rich's version, and it's all archival footage, retelling from the people who were there, from the artists themselves. In the rare case they're alive. The East-West rap battle of the 80s had nothing on the country guys from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I mean, they were just some bad hombres,
yes.
But the Ken Burns thing is worth a view.
It is worth a view. I didn't watch the first couple of episodes, and I kind of zoned out around like in the 40s and stuff. But when it started to pick up in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, when I could kind of relate to it from what I remember hearing growing up, it was interesting. And seeing Dolly Parton talk is cool, always cool. They even had like Merle Haggard on, and these other you start to like. I had no idea like that Roseanne Cash was like.
Oh, her whole family was
the Carters. Yeah, no, the whole thing. Yeah.
I mean, they were royalty.
Yeah,
and it's like, her dad, her mom, and her aunt were truly the foundation of all country music. I mean, they were the epicenter of it, really. And it's like, as big as Johnny Cash was, I mean, he was, I mean, it was him meeting like, Bobby Orr type thing, as big and established as he was, when he became entwined with that family. It's like, complete royalty. So worth a watch.
Worth a watch.
Me not watching anything really. It's been crazy. But the other night, I flick it on, and lo and behold, it was the NFL Network was on, like literally, and there was a show called Roundtable, and they have this new series with each position: offensive line, defensive line, quarterbacks, running backs, linebackers. They're taking a great from like each era. Like 5 greats. Going back from like pre-merger days up to, and they'll have somebody who's a huge name now at that position still playing, or recently retired. And I watched it a little bit, and I saw the running backs, the one on the running backs and the one on the linebackers. And it's hard for me to recommend it only because, like, the linebackers was great. It had Lawrence Taylor, who, if you don't know much about football, and again, like going back to, I always refer to the CBC's Legends of Hockey, thing. What was always great is they had all the greats of the greats going all the way back since the birthing of the NHL, how they talked about the people who came before them and the respect and the reference, or the people who played with them at the time. And that's how I've never heard anybody who played before Lawrence Taylor, who was around while Lawrence Taylor played, who's still in football now, who talks about Lawrence Taylor like anything less than the greatest linebacker ever, and almost getting offended. Like Bill Belichick a couple years ago I think it was Khalil Mack, the big linebacker right now. And he's fucking crazy good. Plays for Chicago Bears. And was almost insulted. Or maybe it was J.J. Watt. So somebody who's having a great career said, oh, do you think, if he continues at this pace for the next 10 years, you put him in the category as Lawrence Taylor? And he wasn't rude about it, like it's like, or dismissive about it. He was indignant. Like, this guy's really good, but you're talking fucking Lawrence Taylor. Like, he was seriously like, how can you have a job reporting on football and be that fucking stupid to put anybody in that category ever, type thing. I mean, he really was. And so all these other linebackers, like Michael Singletary, who played, a generation before him and stuff like that. Harry Carson, who was like 5 years older than him, and he was the guy on the Giants when Lawrence Taylor came in. And all of them, it's like, yeah, don't, like, because at the end of it, they were like, oh, who's your favorite? Who's this? Who do you think is new one guy? And one guy said, oh, I can see Khalil Mack, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, and then he went around and got to Harry Carson. It's like, yeah, I can't compare anybody to anybody. It's like, I'm sitting next to Lawrence Taylor. There will never be this. And and then Lawrence Taylor was, when he was younger, was taken under the wing by Carson. And they were really, really close, had a falling out right after he retired and didn't talk for years. And Lawrence Taylor, he had a lot of problems. He had a lot of substance abuse problems. And a lot of the problems and falling outs he had with people were a result of his lifestyle and his choices. And here's a guy, I don't know how long he's been sober, and he's one of these guys, I think he battles it every day still. And you really wish him luck. But it's like to see this guy who's a monster of a man and talk about like breaking down, crying because of what he did to this guy who was there for him every step of the way and how he turned his back on it. It was a nice thing. The problem is Ray Lewis is on the panel. And I can't get over, Ray Lewis, getting back to perjury that we talked about earlier, perjured himself in a federal case revolving a double murder, which he probably wasn't the trigger man. But the trigger man was in the limo with him and shot, he was close enough to get the blood on his white suit that went missing.
I was going to say, if you can find it.
And seriously, the fact that the Ravens are building a statue to the guy, the fact, you can go down the list of all this stuff that, but yeah, you can't. Ray Lewis is, and again, had a great career. One or two time Super Bowl champ. Might have been a 2-time Super Bowl champ. I think he was. But then again, why don't you have O.J. Simpson sitting in on the running back episode? Because he wasn't guilty.
Right.
He was
acquitted.
Right. So it's like, it's hard for me to say, oh, I enjoy watching this, but I did enjoy hearing Mike Singletary talk. Hearing Harry Carson talk, seeing the old clips, from this stuff. And then the same thing with the running backs. Here's Larry Zonka, from the Dolphins in the 70s. And Emmitt Smith, who I used to say was overrated, but I think I said he was overrated because I hated the Cowboys so much. Sorry, hate the Cowboys so much, but I really hated them when they were good, how people feel about us now. But the same thing, it's like, the current player is Adrian Peterson. And I was like, oh, the guy who missed a year for whipping his son in the testicles and sending him to the hospital. And now we're celebrating this man. And it's like, okay, well, but that's what the NFL is.
Forgiving.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're ahead of the curve.
You got Michael. It's like, is Michael Vick going to be in the quarterback, thing? It's
I
like,
know.
you're going to dig up Aaron Hernandez when you're doing, tight ends. So, it's funny because,
Are we going to hang him from the Raptors?
when he went into prison, they had a football team and he was a, wide receiver. Ended up being a, he went in a tight end and came out a wide receiver. Damn it, Jacques. Damn, you think I should swear?
I'm rubbing off on you, and not in the good way.
Not in the good way. So yeah, so that's all I want. But literally, I haven't had time to watch things. But I will be watching, and I don't like spoilers and stuff like that, but the CW is having its big annual crossover with all the shows, and there's 2 new shows,
The Arrowverse.
and the Arrowverse.
Yeah.
And basically, it's DC trying to catch up with Marvel again. One of their seminal arcs of all time is Crisis on Infinity Earth, where there's only going to be one Superman, and there's only going to be one, it's one of these type of things. So far, the casting announcements have me giddy. I think it's safe to say they're bringing back every Superman. All the ones with us.
Right.
All the ones with us. But yeah, they have, Dean Cain from Lois and Clark is back,
Wow. He said yes?
Okay. So it's funny that you say that. It's like, the Clark and Lana Lang from Smallville is coming back. Brandon Roth, who's in the Arrowverse, he's the Atom on Legends of Tomorrow. Thank you. Who was in the movie Superman Returns that I like.
And Scott Pilgrim.
But he is Superman, so he's got to play. He finally gets to be Superman again, which is great. I mean,
I just remember the end of Ted when Patrick Stewart is doing the narration, and then for some reason they decide to take a cheap shot at Brandon Routh, and then they put up a picture of Brandon Routh, and they go, oh no, they don't put up a picture of him. They say that Sam Neill, who played Flash Gordon, he was also in the movie Ted, and then for some reason I think he said in the narration as sort of like an epilogue, he said Sam Neill is now renting an apartment with his roommate Brandon Routh. Remember Brandon Routh? He played Superman, and he fucked it up. Well done, Brandon.
he didn't fuck it up.
I'm paraphrasing.
I know, but a lot of people again.
Yeah.
It was like, well, that's not my Superman. It's like, come on. But it's great. Now, when you're saying, oh, they got Dean Cain. So Michael Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor in 10 years on Smallville. If I was to rank my Lex Luthors, he's probably number 1. Like that character arc and development and his father's character arc and development on that series, they should have had their own evil spin-off. But it was a great character. See what him and Clark in this storyline were best friends for a very, very, very long part of the time. And when Lex found out who he was felt hurt and betrayed. It's like, dude, anyways, it's a great character. He turned down coming back. And it's like, is he too busy answering the phone that's not ringing? I mean, I don't know the last thing that he's done.
Maybe he feels like he's out of it. I don't know.
But he had a podcast, a couple years ago. He still has a podcast. Who doesn't? Hey, how's your podcast going?
I don't know. I haven't heard it.
And but Tom Welling, who played, Clark and that, he was on his podcast, and it was great. I mean, they were talking about, how great the series was. And it's not like he's ashamed or running from the role. I mean, he killed it. And he came back every season and did great. So, but I will be. And so management had said, hey, can we get caught up on all the shows? I'm like, no.
That's like 3,000 shows.
Right. We haven't watched the whole 8 episode of The Boys yet. We still have 2 episodes to go. So, but yeah, my life, but I told her, it's like, look, we don't have to watch all the shows together. Like, if you want to watch shows, and I'll watch them. But either way, when the Crisis crossover happens, I'm jumping ahead and watching all those. So, I can only avoid spoilers so much. So, yeah, so I'm looking forward to that.
Okay.
Parenting tip.
Yeah.
What do you got? Besides a productive member of society with a job.
Yeah, so that's right. My parenting tip is when your son decides to not go to college and not go to online college, say, hey, how about not playing online 18 hours a day and get a job? And he has. No, so my older son is getting a job. And let's just say that my copies will be less expensive now.
I don't want to say how much he's making.
Let's just say it's a lot. Jacques, your parenting tip.
Hey, I already think I threw it out there. It's like, if you really love your kid and you don't want a fucking colossal meltdown the one time he gets to play a game, maybe have an extra PS4 around just in case the one that he's married to breaks down. So that, but no, let's face it. He's earned it. He gets to play it. So that's it. Plus, you never know when a friend from across the country is going to need to call your son to see if he's playing with his son to relay a message about getting ready for basketball because I'm on my way home and you're not answering the damn phone, because that's the world we live in, Jacques. So that's my parenting tip.
Crazy times we live in. Oh, well.
Okay, so Joe, we will talk about we didn't talk too much about the Patriots. That's okay.
They're doing, I think, let me check the statistics. Well,
they're doing well. But I would put it on the rundown. If we could go out, I've gotten into Dan's 2 albums ago.
Dan Fielding?
Dan Cray.
Oh, okay.
If Dan Fielding put out an album,
that would be great.
I would love it very, very much. But Dan's album, Not the Jazz Guy, which features the song Love, and this is it, and I like it.
I don't like it. I love it. Love it, love it. I love it. I'm 50. And I can kick. I can, what is it?
I just remember the kick.
Yeah. I can stretch.
And I can stretch.
I can kick, stretch, and kick. I'm 50. Jacques, you could do that accurately.
Shut it.
I
cannot kick.
All right.
I cannot stretch.
But you are 50.
And I cannot kick.
Right.
But I am 50.
And loving it. So that's it, Jacques. We've done it again. We've solved no problems. I think we've actually caused a couple. And for those, we'll apologize next week. On next week's Carnival Personnel, thanks for listening. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Carnival Podcast, Instagram, whatever. I think... is there a new one? Is it TikTok? Are we on TikTok?
Oh, no, TikTok.
No, we got to get on.
You can tap into the house arrest bracelet. Track us just like our parole officers.
And all that bullshit. And Jacques, don't forget.
We were fighting for your virtue when you fell upon my soul. I asked you if I'd hurt you. You said I could have hurt some more. Deep inside, we both know you're half crazy. And I may have been the one who drove you nuts. So I guess we'll call it love. Pleading to his honor, it's the grounds of my defense. You offered up my alibi. You said he came and went. Deep inside, we both know you're half crazy. And I may have been the one who drove you nuts. So I guess we'll call love. Deep inside, we both know you're half crazy. I may have been the one who drove you nuts. So I guess we'll call it love. I was swearing my devotion, vowed I'd love you till I die. You said I'd make a lovely widow, dear, but an unconvincing bride. Deep inside, we both know